Two Sides, Spiteful and Determined by Honeybbrooke. The ideas of Two Sides, Spiteful and Determined and Carry On Circle belong to Honeybbrooke and may not be changed or sold by somebody else. This series is fiction but inspired by some true events. Disclaimer: some language, topics of drugs and addiction. You will hear star when you should switch to the opposite story. Think of these books like a movie and it's changing scenes. You don't need to read both sides of the story to understand what's going on either. Prologue. "Don't think we won't kick this door in," shouted Scott. Beth banged the door with the back of her high heel. "You wanna say you're sorry now? Were you saying sorry when you killed my son?" "No, you weren't, so open up." "Guns, grab the guns and circle around the back," Scott ordered as the rest of the crew pulled up. "Check all windows. Nobody's getting out of here," Dewey added. Justin ran around towards the back of the motel. "Justin, watch it," Scott yelled. "We don't know how many people are in there." Beth remained in front of the door. "This is your last chance to come out peacefully." No response. "Kick it in," Beth yelled. Shouting turned into silence. Scott led the way into the room. "Search every inch of it. They are some sneaky bastards. I'm sure one is hiding in here somewhere." "It's empty," Dewey stated. Beth and Grace stood in the doorway. "No way, this happened to us 2 times in a row," Grace commented. Beth shook her head. "Just keep running. You'll eventually see who will win this race." Scott kicked the side of the bed. "Damn it. We were so sure they would have been here. There is no possible way they could have fled that fast. Check the entire premises, they could still be around here. Go now." "Grace, stay and search the room for any evidence," Beth said. "Footprints in the gravel?" Justin questioned. "They were definitely here," he thought to himself. Grace called from the room. "Hey, Dad. I think I found something. Someone was definitely here." Chapter 1, Where It All Started. A wind brushed through the air as Scott dropped a huge stack of papers on the kitchen table. "We never can get a day off." Beth, Scott's partner in crime, motioned to the stack that was now covering her previous workload. Scott shouted, "Kids, get in here. We got a new case and it's a hot one." Dewey, Scott and Beth's oldest son, pulled out the infamous whiteboard from a side closet as he joined the group. Justin, their second oldest son, had eagerness in his eyes that was about to pop. Even though they just caught a fugitive the night before, he couldn't wait to get back out on the hunt. Grace, the youngest, joined her mother to prepare to take notes. Scott looked at his family deep in the eyes. "This is where it begins for us. This is going to be the biggest case we probably have ever done because this is the guy who keeps bringing drugs into our city." He slammed a mugshot on the board. "This is Antonio Mendoza," then a second mugshot, "and his partner that goes by the name Tricky." Beth's nails clicked on her keyboard to track Scott's every word. "So what do we know about them?" Dewey asked. Beth pulled up the county sheriff's page. "His charges mostly consist of possession of drugs and illegal substances." Scott continued. "He's been to jail before and he will do anything to keep from going back." "You'd think he would change his lifestyle then," Justin joked. "Right. He's familiar with how cops operate, but us agents will hit him like a truck. He will never see us coming. All in all, he can be a very dangerous man to deal with because there is no way it's just him and Tricky running this drug operation for the entire city of Los Campos." Star. "All right, crew, wrap it up, we gotta make our meeting with the DA," Scott told. Beth rolled her eyes. "You put too much hope in getting information from the district attorney. When have they ever actually helped us? Hell, they won't even provide us with a colored picture of the person." Scott replied, "We have to do all it takes to do our job efficiently. This is a dangerous guy and we are going to get him." Beth linked arms with Grace as they walked to one of the 2 SUVs. "Dewey, you drive," Justin barked. "Excuse me, but I always drive, and if you think I'm going to take orders from my younger brother, you're trippin'." Their dad pushed past them. "Both of you drive, we have 2 vehicles and we need to get somewhere." The district attorney's office was deep into the city right by the courthouse. Leading up to the courthouse were bail bonds occupancies in every other building and constant police officers patrolling the area. Believe it or not, this was a prime area for inmates to make their escape, even though they barely make it out the door. Dewey slipped some quarters into the meter as Scott and Beth made their way inside. Meetings with the district attorney were always extremely private, so the crew was relied on just to wait outside. Grace tapped her fingernails on the binder that held all the secrets. "Can you stop that? It's disgusting?" Justin groaned from the front. "We are sitting ducks. What else do you want me to do?" Grace argued back. "Inside." The secretary's hands shook as she handed Scott and Beth 2 foam cups of coffee. Beth's face responded to the bitterness from one sip. She set the cup down on the paper tower desk. "Let's get right down to business. You know why we are here." The DA turned his computer for the two to see. "This is our big fish, Antonio Mendoza. Our case has evidence to believe there is more than one person involved with Mendoza's running. We know him by the name Tricky. Task Force has been building a case against both of them, but not with every specific detail." Scott responded, "Before we get into that, can we at least get a colored photo of him this time around?" The prosecutor sighed and clicked some buttons, then the sounds of the printer in the background started. "Thank you," Beth said softly. "Now back to our guy. You said you might have a location on where to get him? And since you believe him and Tricky are running together, then it's possible we can capture them at the same time?" Scott asked. The DA took his glasses off and rubbed his eyes. "This whole thing is making me bald. Like I said, we are not 100% sure, but we will lend this information to you and you can do what you want with it. Antonio and Tricky have been in our correctional facilities before, and from observing their behavior, they got very close in here. Tricky is back on the wanted list because he keeps failing to appear, but with Antonio, well, we all know why he's still wanted." Scott and Beth exchanged looks. "Can you elaborate a little more on that?" she asked politely. "I'm afraid that's all I can say as of right now because that's all the information we have encountered, but we will keep you in the loop. I will get your mugshots and we can call it a day." Beth shrugged. "It seems like we have no choice." As the DA was showing them out, he called out one last time, "Oh, and something to be mindful of. One of their tactics is swapping out vehicles that are always blacked out either with temporary plates or no plates altogether. We have found family members are connected into this ring with swapping out cars, so that might help you find connections." Scott nodded and went in for a handshake. "Thank you for your time." As soon as the swinging door shut, she whipped her head around to her hubby. "What the hell was that in there?" Scott replied, "We can't force them to give us information. They are supposed to be working with us. At the end of the day, we are the ones getting our hands dirty while they sit back and just build a bigger case," she argued. Grace jolted as the car door slammed and her mom scooted in next to her. "Sometimes these cops can be a bunch of dipshits. You kids will learn once you get more experience." Scott came in over the radio. "Let's go home and regroup, then we can head out."